very, very quickly, because you probably know most of this stuff, let's go through the details. An academic paper is essentially teachers or people, basically the point of it as a school exercise, as something to do at university. There's three main things we want to know if you've got these skills, apart from your language skill. Okay? The three main skills are: can you research a topic? Can you present the results of that research? And can you present the results of that research in the shape of an argument? It's not just like you're giving opinion, giving information. You're putting together an argument. You're trying to persuade people. So I'll just quickly go through those three. When you're researching a topic, obviously, when you're researching a topic, obviously you need to go to those databases that we talked about, JSTOR and things like that. Library, I'm old-fashioned, actually a book, I don't think I'm reading it, but I mean that's all there was when I was writing term papers back in the Stone Age. So basically what happens when you're at that stage, you've chosen your topic, you think roughly you're interested in, I don't know, the status of women in society at that time or something like that, and you go through it and you find, oh, there are different opinions. Not everybody thinks the same about it. We're humanities students, and humanity, there's a lot of judgment and opinion and different people arguing, I think this is more like what's going on, and other people say, I think it's more like this. So you get in there and you find something, oh, that's interesting. Not everybody agrees that women had no status. Some people say they did have status. So why did they say that? Why would they be saying such a thing? That sort of thing, okay, where you can see that they're disagreeing with each other. Or feminism in Jane Eyre. A lot of writers are talking about this as a wonderful sort of early example of feminist literature. And other people are saying, get away, it's not feminist at all. It's terrible. It's the opposite of feminist. Okay? Why would they disagree so badly? How can you find out more about it? And how can you express your own idea about that particular argument? Okay, so that would be researching the topic. Then you're going to move on to presenting the results of the research in the right kind of shape, the right kind of way. When it's something like, is it a feminist novel or not? You might start off with one idea, and you might change your idea because other people persuade you. So what do you do in that case? You change you don't try and write a paper to prove something you don't believe anymore. Okay? You write a paper to show, this is the persuasive argument. My research was to find out, about feminism in Jane Eyre, and the most persuasive argument I read told me, was that it isn't really a very strongly feminist book. Or that it is. I'm not telling you either. Okay, it's got to be you. Okay, what do you think? What do you decide about it? Okay, so keep an open mind. We're not scientists, but a scientist wouldn't decide before doing the experiment what the result of the experiment is going to be. The scientist does the experiment and then tells us what the results were. The scientist doesn't sort of decide before doing the experiment what the result is. Okay, and in the same way, we shouldn't be deciding before we've done the research what our position is in the debate. Okay, we should do the research and then report back about what we thought was the most persuasive argument. If not, you just pick out the bits that agree with your opinion and you ignore the bits that don't fit. And that's not the right way to do it. And then finally, putting those ideas that you got from your research together in the shape of an argument. You're not just talking. Students very often, they say, in this paper I will talk about. Well, you can talk as much as you like, but what is your argument? What is your, what are you trying to show us in this paper? Okay? Say it clearly and say it early. Okay? It doesn't seem to matter how often I tell students this kind of thing, or how often different teachers tell them. I think especially in Japanese culture, there's a tendency for language to hide information. And at the end, you get it. Okay? The English language, especially American, and this idea of structure a lot of it comes from America. Hey mate, I'm busy. Okay, I haven't got time to sit around all day waiting until we get to the end of the story. I want to know now, and that will tell me whether I want to carry on to the end. Okay, so you say it clearly and you say it early. And this kind of structure is not the only structure that exists, but it's the structure I'm going to ask you to use, and that probably other teachers are asking you to use. Okay, so that's what I'm going to just break that down a little bit here. I originally made this presentation. Oh, sorry, yeah, I put in this to say that the other thing is, of course, it's written in formal English. I'll come back to that later. I don't want to talk about that just now. I originally gave this presentation in Japanese. Could you believe having given presentations in Japanese? Must have been awful. But I will change each Japanese part to English as we go through. So, how to write a paper. Obviously, you're going to be handing it to me by email, but please also don't forget just to make the page look like and so often I get a paper, I think, yes, this is good. Who wrote it? There's no name on it. And of course I can check back with the email that it came, but it makes life difficult. Okay, so try and lay it out so that it looks right. And then, now all of this is how the person is going to read your paper. They're going to read it starting from the title. You don't have to write it starting from the title. And they're going to read starting from the beginning. But you don't have to write it starting from the beginning. This is just how it's going to look when it's finished. But you don't have to write it like that. We'll come back to that later on. But usually your title will have like three main things in it. It could be like women's rights and the law in 19th century England. Women's rights, law, 19th century. Three basic things, okay? So that will, there might be more, but usually 3 is a good number to aim for. Then you got your introduction, in which you start off with background information in the first paragraph. Now, what kind of background information are we talking about here? I guess students will say, they're writing about Jane Eyre, so they'll do something like, Jane Eyre was written, it was published in 1847 by Charlotte Bronte, and even today, millions of people read it around the world. It's a very popular book. So they're thinking, Jane Eyre, I've only got 980 words left to write. It doesn't work like that. Because you could change that. You could change the name Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte to, Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. You could say exactly the same thing. You could say for any book, this book was published in blah, 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 blah. It is a very, very popular book, blah, 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 blah. Millions of people read it in the world, blah, blah, blah. No. Don't need it. Don't need that kind of stuff. All right? I need you to talk about your title straight away. If you're talking about marriage in, love and marriage in Jane Eyre, start with that. Get in and tell me about that. Okay, you might want to, there are different ways you can do it, but it all needs to be on topic. These 1,000 words need to be on topic. Try not to waste words. Okay, I'd sooner have a short paper that says it properly than a paper that fills it out with unnecessary extra words. Okay? So then, the next thing we get is, we're going to say what our ketsurong is, what our thesis is. Sometimes these second two come the other way around, but very often you say the basic argument is this, and then these are the reasons why. So I'm going to show this in my thesis, and I'm going to show, for example, that Jane is never going to be happy with Rochester. She marries him, but she's going to have a horrible life. Because, and then it's going to be because. Okay? The reasons why you think that. And that's a kind of summary of what you're going to say. And then, of course, in the main body of the paper, you get into the details of those three reasons. So your next paragraph is going to be explaining in detail that first reason. In the main body, in the first paragraph, you go into detail, giving references and, also as much information as you can about the first reason of why Jane isn't going to be happy. Okay? Because she's married a sulky, moody old Rochester who's got a broken arm and is blind, and she's not going to be happy with him. Okay? So you give your first reason. And then you go on in the next part, and of course you give your second reason. All right? Or maybe you give opposite reasons. There are some people who say she's going to be happy because she likes being with sulky, moody, difficult people. That's what she likes, so she will be happy with it. But whatever it is, that's your second part, your second kind of major argument. And then you find your third argument, and you put that in the third paragraph. Well, that's not rocket science either. That's pretty clear. Okay. Next part, the conclusion is usually the most difficult part, and I am not going to be completely strict about this. Writing a good conclusion is the hardest thing, even for professional university professors and people. They don't always do a good job. Okay, because it's difficult. But if you think about it, you had your first reason in the introduction, then you went into detail. You had a second reason in the introduction, you went into detail. You had a third reason in the introduction, you went into detail, but you haven't really given a lot of detail about the Ketsuron, which is just one sentence. So, but now you've given all those background reasons, you should be able to say something more powerful about your Ketsuron, about your thesis. Okay? Like I say, it's difficult, and very often people just end up saying more or less the same as they said in the introduction. And like I also say, I'm not going to be too strict about that. If you can do it, great, that's a bonus, but if you can't, don't worry. It's okay. They are very tired people and they need to sleep. And I don't often talk for several minutes like this. So next thing then, footnotes and references. Why? No, seriously, I mean, it's okay. But your hard work will come in a minute when I finish, when I shut up, okay? But I just want to make sure that you know what you're looking for when we come into the main, your bit of work. Now, why do we have footnotes and what are the references for? What's the point of them? You've done the big references at the end, where like last week, you have a paper and you put at the bottom, the paper that you summarized. But you need to do more than that. Yeah? You need to put references inside the paper as well. Okay? There are different ways of doing it, but if you think about why you're doing it, it will help you to do it in a way that works. I don't mind how you do it, just as long as you do it in a way that works. Okay? And the reason you're doing it is? Sorry? Yeah, because the teacher tells you to. But look, the reason that you're doing this is so that people can go and find out more information themselves if they want to. Okay? And they can check that what you've done is proper. I mean, I once had a student who used my paper. And he came to me very proud and said, I used your paper from JSTOR. I used it in my paper, in my report. And do you know what he'd written? He'd written, Shakespeare was a Catholic. And do you know what I had written in my paper? There is no proof that Shakespeare was a Catholic. Okay? So when I go and check, all right, my paper does not say Shakespeare was a Catholic. Okay? My paper says there is no proof that Shakespeare was a Catholic. Okay? The student proudly saying, I used your paper. Yeah, you totally misrepresented me. Okay? So that's why we do it, okay? To show that we are properly using the source, that it really says what we said it says, and that people who are interested can go on and find out more reasons. Why does this Yamamoto-Wilson guy think that Shakespeare was a Catholic? Okay? Well, you get there and find out first he doesn't think that, and then you can find out all his, you can read his stuff and find out more about the topic. So that's the sort of thing. And the way of doing it then should be pretty easy. There are two ways of doing it basically. One way is through footnotes, like this. Okay, so you've got the sirens and the daughters of the sparrows and all the bees. So you've got a little number there showing where that information, in this case the information is a quotation, we've got a little number showing where it comes from. And then at the bottom you show the author, the title, the publisher, the date and the page. Okay? I've buggered my back if you're wondering. I can't walk properly. I've got a stick. I don't usually have a stick, but I've got one today. So that would be one way of doing it, through footnotes. The other way of doing it, the MLA style, is with a list of works cited, like this, in-text reference. So we get Wallace 122 telling us where that quotation comes from, or where that information comes from. That comes from a book written by someone called Wallace, and it's on page 122. The next one, it just says 5. Because we got the name of the person already here. Okay? So it doesn't need to say the name of the person again. We already know the name of the person. Okay, so it just says 5. All right? But of course, you know, who is Rigg and who is Wallace? You know, how can it's not enough information. I can't find, you know, that information just with one name and a page number. So at the end of a paper that's using this style, we need the work cited. Oh, so yes, okay, I've done all of that. Yes. All right, I told them. Let's move on. We get a setup like this, where we put the family name in alphabetical order, except that I just noticed there's a mistake. The book made I photocopied it from a book, and the book got it wrong. Ridley comes before Rigg. So my example to you, and it's wrong. But that's the basic idea. So that if I want to know who is Rigg, I go here, this is the book, and if I go to page 5, I find that information. If I go to Wallace page, whatever it was, in this book, then I'll find the information about Wallace, okay? So that's how the references work. And I think that should be enough information for you now to be able to look at. And as I say, you should know all of that anyway, but I just want to make sure before we start. So now I'm going to give you some papers, and you can take a look at them and see how they work. Okay? Yeah, we got, yes, all right. Yeah, Rigg, Wallace, very good. That's it. And I hope it makes sense.